Awesome. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I'll be bringing up Miss Tosin Ojo, who is the partner of C.L.E.A.N Capital. But I'd like to read her profile very quickly before she comes up. Okay, so I'll just make it really short. She heads the private equity team at C.L.E.A.N Capital, a leading agribusiness private equity firm in sub-Saharan Africa. In this role, she leads fundraising, deal origination, execution, and value creation. And she has 17 years of experience spanning private equity, financial advisory, asset management, and investment research. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome with me the delectable Miss Tosin Ojo, partner, C.L.E.A.N Capital.
Thank you very much, Kaka. I like the prefix you gave me, delectable. Actually, hi, everyone. That's so low. There are a few people that know me, actually. They know if you had met me, if you had met me somehow, anyway, if they ask you to describe me, there'll be two words that will come to you, to be energy and passion. So wherever I am, it just kind of like have to light up. So hi, everyone. Now we're talking. Awesome. This morning, I've been given the task to talk about turning audacious goals to strategic wins. And I'm going to be telling you through a story. But before I start, I want to appreciate my friend Yinka for convening this. God bless you. That's all I'm going to say. So I'm going to talk about turning audacious goals to strategic wins. And I'm going to tell you through a story. Like many adults, just before the beginning, like many adults when I left uni, I had this incredible burst of optimism and energy, and that the future will be awesome and the future will be great. I remember walking down amphitheater. How many people finished from me for here? Okay. Awesome. You have to know them in the room. I remember walking through the amphitheater and to receive the VC's, first class award. I felt on top of the world like, oh me, you know how you feel like when you're living, like the whole world owes you. When I collect this pali and I leave this place, everything should be falling at your feet. The world felt so flat and conquerable. And as I was looking through as the orchestra team was playing that awesome Great Infe anthem, I felt really proud of myself. Having come through my Olora primary school, through my Jakonde secondary school, I felt really proud of myself. And I'm like, okay, everything is supposed to just run smoothly from here. And then I was lucky, but maybe not luck, maybe not luck. I'm still going to come to the role of divine providence. I got my first job in Stanbic, but it was mobile sales officer. It was January 2008. I didn't interview for the job. I didn't. What had happened was there was while I was serving, there was this recruiting firm that wanted to do graduate fair for young graduates. And I saw it in the Guardian newspaper. And then I applied, but we had to do an aptitude test to qualify for that graduate fair. So I went for the aptitude test and I passed. I don't know what the cutoff was, but I was called to come for the graduate fair. And I went for the graduate fair. So I remember at the graduate fair, there were a number of firms, and I went around dropping my CV to different institutions. I didn't even drop my CV to banking because I didn't want to do financial services. I had read microbiology and I'd constrained my mind that I was going to just find one quality assurance work to do in one, maybe multinational. I'll just be in the lab and stuff, and that's just what I was going to do. All my dream was, let me just get into Unilever or Nestle, let me go and do quality in the micro lab, something like that. That was like the best you could aspire to if you were not going to do your master's or go do a PhD, right? And so I avoided going to the the financial services booth. But somehow, after a couple of months, I got a text that said, I've been shortlisted for a job in sales in banking. Am I interested? And this was like a month to the end of my youth service. Of course I was interested. I didn't have a job. Would I say I wasn't interested? Of course I was interested. So I said I was interested. And it was December 2007. And they said, okay, if you're interested, come January 7, if I still remember the date, 2008, they gave us address. You have the job, just come. It sounded unbelievable. And we showed up. There must have been maybe up to 50 of us. And they told us, then it was Yemi Fashion that was the head of HR. And he told us then, he was like, okay, so, you are going to be train for 3 weeks. After 3 weeks, you're going to do an exam. If you pass, you have the job. If you don't pass, you're back on the street. And your work after you pass is we post you to all the branches for Stanbic IBTC, and you're going to be bringing in cheap deposits. Just open accounts, whether it's zero or anything. So they actually carved out a name for us. We were called mobile sales officer. We were not normal banker. We're not assistant banking officer or, then when you start in a bank, you're like assistant banking officer. We were mobile sales officer. We're not supposed to be in the office or have a desk. Actually, we were sales agents. The only thing they did us, the only favor they did us was they were paying us full salary instead of paying us like contract staff. And they gave us pension. So that was good. But there were supposed to be 2 of us to a computer. So you're not supposed to have a seat in the office, right? You're supposed to be running around the streets and be looking for accounts. So that was the job. Anyways, again, I didn't have a job. All the other ones I've applied to, they didn't call me. So no, I did the 3 weeks training. I was shortlisted. Now, this is where I was going. I told myself 3 weeks training, I can pass exam, maybe it's exam. If there's anything I know how to do is to pass exam, I'll pass. So 3 weeks they took me. I was, I think, second best in the set, and they took us, and I started. And I was still excited. I remember going to shop for my suits. I felt like I was going to be a banker. But when the work started, they would just chase us out of the office to go to the street. So I remember I was, but I was posted to head office branch, and I'm going to explain the role of divine providence at the end. So I will move from that water carrying branch, walk through Akadeshola, walk down Kofa Biomi, just be going from shop to shop. After like a month, I would come back to the office and I would go to the restroom, I'll start crying. I'm like, what is this? Like, how am I doing this? I finished with a goddamn first class. Like, why am I here? And I was so unhappy. And it was funny because we were all in retail banking, but even in the cadre of retail banking, there was like seniority, because even those that were normal relationship officers and, the normal marketers, relationship officers, they would see us and they would call us mobile, and then I would go to the bathroom and I would cry. And then I told my mom that I was going to resign. That I couldn't be this. And my mom was like, you can resign, share Nigeria, like nobody resigns work, just continue. But I remember my bank manager then, he called me at a point, he saw me. Because the day we went to do, after we had done, the HR asked for a certificate just to do the post-employment screening and stuff. And he saw my profile. I said, you finished with the first class? I said, yes. So like, what are you doing here? So he had taken note of me. So he saw that I was very demotivated. Then he called me one day and he said, see, this one, just do it first. Just do it. Somehow go out, show effort, just try, just do something. And that word, it was really, really transformational. It was really transformational because it changed how I was thinking, and that will lead me to the second thing I wanted to talk about, right? So this was the beginning, as I said, as we were leaving Ife. That thing that he said changed, it made me realize that I was freaking entitled. Like, who owed me a job, really? Like, so when you went to school and you collected a paper, so, why should anybody care that you have a first class? And that is the first thing, if you are here, that's the first thing I want to take note of if you are here. The world owes you nothing. Nobody owes you anything. That's the first thing. And so I started thinking that, so what that you have a first class? Like, how does that affect the price of fish in the markets? How does that concern anybody? So I started thinking to myself that actually, here, where I am right now, what's important is they want us to open accounts. And if I'm not doing that, like, it really doesn't matter. Like, at the end of the month, I'll collect a paycheck. Then whatever I think I know, or no matter how smart I think I am, it's irrelevant because I'm not delivering what I'm supposed to deliver right here. So I made up my mind. So I'll go out. So I changed after 3 months. I will go out. I'll go to Bonnie Camp. How many of you know Bonnie Camp in that Watakariti side, Mami Market? I'll go inside there. I'll sit down with the okporoko seller. I'll sit down there and I'll say, Mama, this bank, if you open accounts, you can open account with zero balance. So, and then I'll go to, then there used to be this, around the US Embassy, there used to be these boys that used to do photocopy, passports. I'll go and sit down there with them. I'll sit down with G's, they'll become my friend, they'll pity me, they'll open accounts. Because they can open with zero balance. So all I just need to do is, I needed to show progress. I needed to come back and show that. Do you know how disappointing it is for them to say, go and bring one account, don't bring money, just get one person, convince one person to open an account, and you come back with nothing. But you say you have a first class. And that's the first thing we need to think about. Like, they're not saying go and ask somebody for money, just convince somebody to open an account with zero balance. And I started. And that was the first thing. And then the first transition. So I did that, and I started feeling good about myself. And quite honestly, I was, almost trying to settle. I developed a reputation then, I think, in that branch. They used to call me Eshin, the horse, because there was time I was sick and I couldn't come to work. They said, Eshin to fall, because I would just be walking. I would just be walking like Jacko, walking. But then, I still remember that, I wanted to do something better. I had this hunger. I felt like I could use... I felt like I have a superpower and I could use it, and this is not what it's supposed to be. But I still stayed there. And then, but something happened, and I think this was by divine providence, because I was posted to the head office branch. And quite frankly, I'm also a person of faith. I remember the day they were going to post us after that 3 weeks. I actually prayed that I wanted to be posted to the head office branch. I don't know why, but I know that if I'm in the head office, it just felt nice because it's head office. So I was posted to the head office branch. And that was the beginning of my first transition. So out the entitlement mindset, posted to head office branch. And in that head office branch, and I started seeing the bankers, the investment bankers. If I mention, the people who are leading the industry, and it's been a long journey. This story is bringing memories. And then they used to come to the head office branch then to come and do their banking transactions. So I'll be looking at them, and those in asset management, I'll be looking at them, I'll be looking at us, the rest of us that are inside that branch. That's 15 years. Some people are still doing operations, assistant operations officer, 15 years, assistant banking officer. So I'll look at them, I'll look at us. I'll look at these people that are coming from asset management. In 3 years, they would have, double promotion, official cars, everything. So I would look at them, and then I started hearing corporate and investment banking, asset management, all these things. I'll Google. I was very clueless when I started in banking, zero. I didn't know deposit, balance sheets, nothing. People used to tell you, I did ICAN when I was in school. I finished ICAN. I didn't do anything. I just read book and came out. I was absolutely clueless. So I will hear things, I'll go and Google it. I'll hear things, I'll go and Google it. And then one day, I decided to send an email to the head of research. I sent him an email. Dr. Yemikale was eventually the statistician general. I composed the email, I sent him. So I've overheard some people talking, saying that he likes people that are brainy, that he finished with the first class, he has a PhD. So that he likes people that finish with first class. That's what I heard. So I composed the email and I sent it to him. And he didn't respond. And I felt very deflated. He didn't respond at first. I felt very deflated. Of course, when you send emails to very senior people, sometimes you don't even see the email, So, and then there was a day he came into the banking hall, and then a friend of mine said, he's there. Go and meet him. I said, how will I go and meet him? What will I say? She said, go and meet him. He came to drag me. And then I went to meet him, and then I said, I sent an email. I said, yeah, you finished with the first class, And this is the first lesson. The first thing is, what do you have? Start from where you are. Some of us, I'm watching my time. Some of us, especially when you're in a world where things are changing so fast. Today is AI. Yesterday, it was Python. I remember when I was in school, it was Java, C++, something. Before you do 2 years of Java and C++, they've moved to another thing. Before you do another, in 1 year, you'll be hearing quantum computing. Everything will just be shifting. The point is, what do you have? There's something that makes you incredibly you. It's just you. It's not the latest trend. It's not the latest skill. It's just something that makes you you. And I'll tell you what mine was, because that's what I figured out. When I was going to send that email to Dr. Kale, I knew that I love to learn. Like I told you, I can write exam. I love to learn. I knew that I was a voracious learner. Like you can throw me in the middle of information. I will consume it, I will analyze it and digest it like this. I knew that about myself. And I knew that I also had an incredible drive. It does not matter what the thing is. It does not matter what the thing is. I can learn, and I'm extremely driven to do. So I'll figure it out. And those were the only two things I told him. And he said, I should come for an interview. And I did. What do you have? A lot of you are stuck. And then you're trying to, this is fintech, I go to fintech. VC, I go to VC. Which one is the other thing that is running now? The AI, I go to AI, modeling. But who are you really? What do you have? What's your superpower? What is it that you are so incredibly great at? You're not good at it, you're great at it. And I'm going to get to that at the end. Because there's so many people that are good. The one need people that are great. You need to figure out your own. What is it that you're great at? And then, well, the rest is history. I moved to research. And then after I moved to research, I started feeling cool with myself. I was now like in the cool. I heard about CFA. I remember the day I heard about CFA. I was still in mobile sales when I heard about CFA. I was coming one day from my errand work to open accounts. So people now, they gave me certificates to dematerialize. So I got there, so it's by the way gist. I got there, CFA one exam, I just come out results. I saw the whole asset management division, everybody running. I said, what's going on here? They said, this exam, one thing. I go back to my desk. When it was my turn to use computer, Google CFA, I saw everything. Anyway, that's the beginning of my journey. So at this point, I'd now moved to research. I'd written CFA, I hazed to level 1, written CFA, I hazed level 2. I was popular in the bank. Everybody was hearing my name. There's this guy, one thing. I was feeling cool with myself. After like 18 months, I plateaued. And I plateaued because sometimes you are in spaces that are not made for you. You're in spaces, you're trying to fit into spaces that are not made, that are too small for you. Right? I was a junior analyst, I was a first-year analyst. But the rate at which I was moving, my ambition and my audacity, the senior analysts in the team and the associates, they don't have it. And I was choking. Do you understand? It started feeling choking. And quite honestly, I wasn't emotionally mature. My emotional intelligence was very low. So as it was choking, I was reactive. And it felt like a push and pull situation. I knew I needed to leave. I remember then I was a junior analyst, and then I said one of the companies I was covering, even though it was not one of the major companies, I said I wanted to go on an analyst visit. I wanted to go to Edo State, to Presco. I wanted to meet the CEO. I wanted to go. All the seniors in the team haven't done it, and they were wondering, like, what's wrong with this one? We should not sit down in one place. They want me to be doing this daily report. And I'm like, no, I can't do this thing. And then after I push, they allowed me to go for the trip. I went for the trip alone. I was a first-year analyst. I sat down with CEOs. I asked them questions. I went around the factory, did all the analysis, did everything. But I realized that space wasn't made for you. So sometimes also, you're in spaces that are not made for you. So you need to, if I could pick a lesson, I could have done it better. I was quite immature. But the lesson there was that I started looking out for the spaces that were made for me, and I left. And then after I left, from that point, from that first transition, it was just like, boom, boom. I remember my first move when I moved to Vetiva, and then from there, after about 3 years, I felt like I wanted to be head of research again. And then I moved from that point. And then I was growing leaps and bounds. I moved from senior analyst to senior associate. And then from senior associate to VP. I moved from senior associate to VP in 14 months. So between senior analyst and VP, in 3 years, I moved from senior analyst to VP. I was doing very well. Now I'm going to pause here and say something. It wasn't without a lot of twists and turns. But I'm going to say this before I talk about the twists and turns. See, I've said it, I'm going to say it again. It's the emphasis of what I'm going to say today. Every organization rewards A-star performance. The problem is there are too many mediocre performers, and everybody, when they're interviewing you, they will say, what's your strength? What's your weakness? What a lot of people do is they try to minimize their weakness when they are supposed to be extremely, phenomenally, unapologetically great at their strengths. Like, strength and weakness is a continuum, it's a spectrum. Because on the other side of what you call people's strength is actually their weakness. I'm going to use myself as a very practical example. I'm very driven, as you can tell from my energy here. I'm very driven. I'm a voracious learner. I'm impatient. I'm impatient not because I want to push people to be impatient. I figured out why I was later. It's because I learned fast, I expect that from people most times. So when you give me information, I've processed, I expect that same level of delivery from people. Then I started learning that, it's not everybody that will be at that level, and then you have to. So those are my fantastic strengths. So it doesn't matter where you put me, I moved from mobile sales officer to equity research, covered many sectors, and then I became head of research, right? Then I moved a bit into asset management. It's the same skills are the things that are serving me. I learn fast and I can do stuff. The same skills. It's not because while I was in research, I was trying to learn programming, and then I tried to learn another thing. No. What is your superpower? I figured out that superpower, and you can move it to different places. Now, here's where I'm going. Your strengths and your weaknesses. Now, a lot of you try so much. My weakness, let me minimize my weakness. When your absolute focus should be on that strength. See, strengths and weaknesses are a continuum. When you are good at something, you are like every other person. But when you are great at something, people optimize for your weakness. When you are great at it, people optimize for that weakness. Especially if you are willing to learn and you can take feedback. People will optimize for your weakness because you are great. You're an A-star. Do you understand? You are just the freaking best. But that comes with mastery and practice. It doesn't come overnight. That comes with paying the price, right? There's this thing that people used to say that anyone that is really great at anything has spent 10,000 hours mastering the skills, right? So that is the price you have to pay. But a lot of us are not willing to really pay that price. You're always willing to, I've done a little, then I move to the next thing. Now, when you pay, and remember, pay the price, but let it be in what you're already good at. Who are you? What's your superpower? That's that thing that you have is what you should start from. And when you start from there, then be damn great at it. I mean, I say to my children, I say this to them, I say, I don't care what you want to do. If you like, be a sweeper. If you like, be a road warden. I don't really care anything you want to do. But what I absolutely care about is that you are not a mediocre in doing it. If they are going to count the best people in that field, you better be one of them. Then I'll give you all the support that you need. But really, go be anything. So that's the thing. In every organization, strengths and weaknesses are a continuum. The problem is many of you are just around average. There's just nothing that stands out about you. So it's very difficult for anyone to... I've worked in 4 or 5 different institutions. If you call any of them and say, describe Tosin in 2 words, they will say, she has energy and passion. If you want something done, give it to her. That's what they will tell you. This other thing they will tell you is that she's very versatile. She's very versatile. How many of you watch football? Versatile players, like utility players. How coaches like them. Like they can play right wing, left wing. They can be midfield. They can play defense. Coaches like those kind of players. Not the one that will say, if they don't give me ball in this particular way and serve it in this particular side, I cannot score. Okay. So those kind of players. So if you ask them, they will say those 2 things. And then if you want anything done, she does it, and she's very versatile. And then another transition came. I'm going to talk about this second transition because it was about when I was 10 years, and I'm rounding up 10 years in my career. Now, I'd gone off the survivor mode, and purpose came calling, and I had plateaued, but I had a very good career. I had a very, I was A-star in my organization. I was direct succession pipeline to the founders. When I said I was going to business school, the whole board had a meeting so that, what can we do so that you stay, so that you don't go? But I knew that I needed to make another transition. It was, and when you've invested like 10 years into a career, there are easy pathways that you can easily flow into. But then I'm trying to make a shift that is almost like 360 degrees from that pathway. And it didn't make sense. And people were like, are you sure you know what you're doing? But like I said, purpose came calling. So I went to school. I came back, and sometimes people try, not because they are bad people, but because you're so great at what you're doing, they want to keep you. They try to sell you their dream. And I still came back and stayed for another 6 months because, they were like, okay, just stay. We can maybe figure out what you are going to do here. But it didn't work. So I left after 6 months. And then I left, and this was the second transition. It took me 2 years to find my balance. Because at a point in that journey, I was asking myself that, are you sure village people are not worrying you? Because, I mean, you had such an awesome job. What is this thing? And let me tell you what it was. I was doing asset management, public market. I wanted to do impact investing and development finance. And it was such a giant leap because people who would go from that to here would have been people that have done, may say, investment banking, like full-blown investment banking or M&A, and then will be able to go directly. Even for full-blown investment banking M&A, they still find it difficult. Like, they need people who have like PE direct experience. But that was the transition that I was going to make. And then there were a few meandering twists and turns trying to get there. Again, the same principle. What do you have? At that point, I went to one institution. I wasn't a fit. I left. And then I started a firm on my own. Again, what do you have? Those two things I said are still there. So if I could use it for another person in another organization, I can use it for myself. Luckily, I've done sales before. So now, at least I know how to get clients, even if it's one person. So it added up. And then the last thing is all of the skills I've gathered in this my 10-year journey, I put them to use. Again, what do you have? It's always it is not according to what you do not have, it's according to what you have. The problem is you're commonizing what you have. So you don't even know what you have, and you have not fine-tuned it to be great at it, to excel at it, right? So you continue to jump. They said this is what they are doing. You go for this training. They said, I'm not against writing professional exams. I wrote CFA. By the way, it showed me paper before I passed level 3. So that story I told earlier, before I passed level 3, I saw Shaggy. Anyways, I'm not against professional exams, but why? Why are you writing it? Some of you will write CFA. You finish, you write FRM. Then there's this, which other one? Whatever. You just go and write. And you're right. Why? Why are you writing it? What do you want to do? What do you have? Why are you going up and down? Today now, they say it's Python plus modeling plus something, you go and jump inside it. They say AI plus something. We thought the tech and the AI, the tech firms are the one laying off the most people. We thought the tech skills they have, they'll just come. 10,000 people, go. So the point is, what do you have? What you have, your superpower. By the time you are great at it, nobody lets go a great employee. It does not matter what transformation they are doing. Nobody lets them go. Anyways, now the last transition, eventually I found my way into PE. The same thing I did, what I had. Now, because it was, at a much more senior position, I was now a VP, the transition took a while, but I still took the same thing that I had. I started something on my own when nobody gave me a chance. I was doing the advisory I wanted to do on my own. I was getting clients. I was executing. I was doing the capital raising. I was, supporting startups. I did it on my own. And then that became the template for me to now tell people that, see, I did this on my own. I got this client. And then I helped the client to do this and this. And then I found my way back into PE. And then I found my way back into PE, still as VP. Now I've been a VP for like 7 years. But again, the same superpower that you have. I get things done. I learn fast. I'm versatile. I get things done. I'm a voracious learner, and I'm versatile. I became partner in 3 years after I joined PE from VP. But the point is, what do you have? Now, these are the lessons I'm going to close with. I've shared them in different points. First, audacious goals. I'm hoping that you are here because you have those audacious goals anyways. Because if you don't, go and set them. Let go of an entitlement mindset. Nobody owes you anything. No. Nobody owes you a job. No, nobody owes you anything. What do you have? Start from there. I guess this probably will be more introspective for a lot of you when you live here. You need to go and think about what you have. Start from there. Who are you? Like, what are the things that are just you? What do you have? Start from there. When you now find that thing that you have, bring solutions. In the organizations where you are, where you're working, everybody who loves people will bring solutions. Some people will find problems. Bring solutions. Then do it. Remember, I said I get things done. Do it. Execute it. Do it, and be the best at it. I'm a stickler for excellence, so be the best, because the middle is too crowded. The reason you are struggling is because you are in the middle. Nobody can identify anybody in the middle. Be the best at it, and don't doubt yourself. I'm going to close now. My time is up. But this story will not be complete if I don't mention the role of divine providence. And I've said many things, and it sounded like, I could do this. But there were a few moments in life, critical junctions of life, that if not for certain divine providence, then this whole story would not have even happened. And one of those moments was the day I saw that advert in Guardian newspaper, because I may not have seen that advert. I'm not like a lot of people that they finished, they did this aptitude test at PwC and they passed and they interviewed them. That's not my own story. My own story was they said we should come and do sales. I entered, they did exam for us, I passed, I got a job. That was the beginning. I was a mobile sales officer. That's first moment. Second moment was when I actually prayed. I said I wanted to be posted to head office branch, even though I didn't know why. My path would have been very different if I was in one branch in Orile Gomu or one branch in, Baja or something. Very different. Very, very different. Now, I had absolutely no influence in that posting to head office branch. I was second best overall. I wasn't the first. So it wasn't a question of like maybe they were using the first or second. I was the second. The first wasn't posted to the head office branch, but I was posted to the head office branch. And from that point, the rest is history, because everything I saw, everything I knew, everything I wanted to be, everything that changed my mindset, my thinking, my mentality was only because I was posted to that head office branch. So don't never, ever ignore the place of divine providence. But I guess we are here so that we can talk about what you would do. Because, God will always do his own part. Problem is, we don't do ours. So what do you have? Start from there. Thank you.